Picture this: cameras rolling, lights blazing, an expectant crowd waiting for the usual Sussex show. But instead of the polished performance we've come to expect, we got something raw, something real, something that revealed more about their marriage than any tell-all interview ever could. Harry had the microphone, Meghan wanted it, and for the first time in years, she didn't get what she wanted. Now, before you dismiss this as just another celebrity moment, let me paint you the full picture. Meghan steps onto that stage uninvited, wearing what can only be described as an outfit that looked like it had been packed in a hurry and forgotten in a suitcase for weeks. She positions herself right next to Harry, that familiar smile plastered across her face, waiting for him to do what he's always done: step aside and let her take center stage. But something was different this time. Harry kept talking. He kept holding that microphone like his life depended on it. And Meghan? She just stood there, smile faltering, realizing that the playbook she'd been using for years had suddenly stopped working. The crowd didn't know what to do. You could feel the awkwardness rippling through the audience like a stone thrown into still water. This wasn't the choreographed royal performance they expected. This was two people having a very public, very silent argument in front of hundreds of witnesses. And here's what makes this moment so telling. Harry looked like he'd been through this exact scenario 1,000 times before. You could practically read his thoughts. Not again, not here, not now. The man who used to jump at every opportunity to showcase their partnership suddenly became very protective of his speaking time. Think about what that means for a second. This is the same Prince Harry who spent years positioning Meghan as his equal partner, his co-pilot, his everything. Yet when the moment came to naturally include her in what was clearly his event, he chose not to. That's not a small thing. That's a seismic shift in relationship dynamics playing out in real time. But here's where it gets really interesting. While Meghan stood there like an actress who'd forgotten her lines, desperately trying to insert herself into a scene that wasn't written for her, the rest of the world was watching something else entirely unfold. Because this wasn't just about a microphone or an awkward stage moment. This was about power, control, and the slow unraveling of a carefully constructed public image. You see, Meghan has built her entire post-royal identity on being the voice, the message, the main character in every story. She's the one who speaks to Oprah, who gives the interviews, who controls the narrative. But in that moment, with cameras capturing every second, she became what she's probably feared most: a supporting character in someone else's story. And the mainstream media? Radio silence. Absolutely nothing. You'd think a moment this revealing, this unprecedented in the Sussex saga, would be front-page news everywhere. Instead, we got the usual fluff pieces about their united front and their strong partnership. Because acknowledging what actually happened would mean admitting that the fairy tale they've been selling us might not be so fairy tale after all. But let's talk about what happened after the cameras stopped rolling, because that's where the real story lies. According to people who were there, Meghan's famous composure didn't last long once she stepped off that stage. The smile that had been straining at the edges finally cracked, and what came out wasn't pretty. This is a woman who spent years perfecting the art of public grace under pressure. She's weathered tabloid storms, family dramas, and international scrutiny with that same calculated poise. But being ignored by her own husband in front of a live audience? That was apparently the breaking point. Harry, meanwhile, looked like a man caught between two worlds, the one he's trying to build and the one he's trying to escape. You could see it in his posture, hear it in his voice. This wasn't the confident prince we once knew, but it also wasn't the liberated man he claims to be now. He's stuck somewhere in between, and that microphone moment was just a glimpse of the internal struggle he's facing every day. Now, here's something that will really make you think. While all this drama was unfolding on stage, something else was happening halfway across the world that nobody seemed to connect. The government of Ukraine, in official correspondence, addressed Harry as His Royal Highness. Yes, the same title he supposedly gave up when he stepped back from royal duties. Let that sink in for a moment. If Harry really is just a private citizen now, if he's truly cut ties with the royal family as dramatically as we've been told, why is a foreign government still using his royal title? And more importantly, why didn't Buckingham Palace issue a correction? This isn't some administrative oversight or diplomatic formality. This is protocol, and protocol in international relations doesn't happen by accident. Someone, somewhere, is still recognizing Harry's royal status, even if the public narrative suggests otherwise. Could it be that Harry isn't as far removed from the royal fold as everyone believes? Or maybe the palace is playing a much more sophisticated game than any of us realized. They're not cutting him off completely. They're keeping him on a very long, very strategic leash. Think about it. Harry travels with palace aides, not personal staff. Palace aides don't just hop on international flights without explicit approval from the highest levels. Yet somehow we're supposed to believe he's operating completely independently? That strains credibility. What we're witnessing isn't just the breakdown of a marriage or the struggles of a celebrity couple. This is a masterclass in royal politics, played out on a global stage with stakes higher than most people realize. Harry is caught between two powerful forces, his wife's ambitions and his family's expectations, and that microphone moment was just a tiny crack in a dam that's been under enormous pressure for years. Meanwhile, Meghan's desperation is becoming harder to hide. The charm offensive that once won over millions is starting to feel forced, calculated, almost desperate. She used to glide into any room and immediately become its center of gravity. Now when she appears uninvited at events, people don't know whether to applaud or call security. Take what happened at the Kevin Costner event, for instance. Meghan wasn't on the guest list, wasn't expected, wasn't even supposed to be in town. Yet somehow she materialized on stage like she belonged there. The problem? Nobody else seemed to think she did. The organizers didn't stop her. Probably too shocked to react, but you could feel the confusion rippling through the crowd. This wasn't a planned appearance or a surprise guest moment. This was someone inserting themselves into a situation where they clearly weren't wanted, and everyone could tell. The most telling part wasn't even her unexpected arrival. It was her exit. When it became clear that nobody was going to acknowledge her presence, when the applause she expected never came, when the spotlight stubbornly refused to shift in her direction, she didn't gracefully retreat. She stormed off with the kind of barely contained fury that spoke volumes about her mental state. Behind the scenes, according to multiple witnesses, the mask came off completely. The woman who preaches about grace and dignity apparently had quite a bit to say about being disrespected and ignored. And Harry? He got to hear every word of it during the car ride home. This is what their relationship has become, a series of public embarrassments followed by private reckonings. Meghan pushes for more visibility, more control, more relevance, while Harry increasingly looks like a man who just wants to disappear. But here's the really fascinating part about all of this. The royal family isn't fighting back. They're not issuing statements, not defending themselves, not engaging in the public drama at all. They're doing something much more effective. They're letting Harry and Meghan exhaust themselves against indifference. Every time Meghan demands attention, the palace simply ignores her. Every time Harry makes a veiled threat or emotional plea, Buckingham Palace responds with silence. It's psychological warfare at its most sophisticated level, and it's working. Because while Harry and Meghan are burning through their credibility with increasingly desperate moves, the royal family is simply carrying on. King Charles doesn't flinch. Prince William doesn't pause. The monarchy continues to function exactly as it did before, proving that no individual, no matter how famous or formerly beloved, is indispensable. The media plays along with this strategy because conflict sells. They'll publish glowing reconciliation stories one day and scandal pieces the next, keeping the Sussex brand just warm enough to be profitable, but never quite letting it achieve the relevance it desperately seeks. It's a perfect example of being used by the very industry you think you're manipulating. And those rumors about Harry reconciling with his father in exactly 6 years? That's not a prediction. That's a strategic timeline. Just specific enough to keep hope alive, just vague enough to avoid any real commitment. It's designed to keep the Sussex brand viable while ensuring they never get too comfortable or too powerful. Harry knows he's being played, but he's trapped by his own choices. California hasn't made him freer. It's made him more isolated, more dependent on a relationship that's clearly under severe strain. He can't go back to his old life, but he's not successfully building a new one either. You can see it in his recent appearances. This is a man who once commanded rooms with his natural charisma, who could work a crowd like he was born for it. Now he looks like he's reading from a script he doesn't quite believe, saying words that feel foreign in his mouth. Meanwhile, Meghan's frustration is becoming impossible to hide. She's a woman who's used to getting her way through charm, manipulation, or sheer force of will. But none of those tactics work when your own husband won't play along, when the media won't cooperate, and when the public starts to see through the performance. The saddest part of all this is watching two people who thought they could rewrite the rules of one of the world's oldest institutions slowly realize they've overplayed their hand. They walked away from guaranteed relevance, lifetime security, and global influence, betting they could build something better on their own. Instead, they've created a house of cards that's collapsing one awkward public moment at a time. The microphone incident wasn't just a brief, uncomfortable moment. It was a glimpse into a relationship where the power balance has fundamentally shifted, where the scripts no longer work, and where the fairy tale is finally revealing itself to be just another Hollywood story with an unhappy ending. The truth is, you can't keep selling empowerment while desperately clinging to relevance. You can't preach about authenticity while orchestrating every public appearance. And you definitely can't build a sustainable brand on grievance and victimhood when the world is ready to move on to the next story. What we witnessed in that microphone moment wasn't just marital tension or a simple misunderstanding. It was the beginning of the end of one of the most carefully constructed public narratives of our time. And the most telling part? It happened not with some dramatic revelation or explosive interview, but with something as simple as a husband choosing not to share the stage with his wife. Sometimes the smallest gestures reveal the biggest truths. And in this case, that truth is that the Sussex fairy tale is over. Not with a bang, but with the sound of silence and a microphone that stayed exactly where it was.